Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I have a die cut card for you, so get comfy and let's get crafty. Today I am working with the Honeybee Stamps Lovely Layers April Showers die set. This is the printable layering guide. I've cut my die set into two pieces so I can put it into a stamp package because it's a really large stamp or die set. I'm also using some pattern paper from my stash. It's an old Stampin' Up! Set. I've got some cardstock that kind of coordinates together. I had one plan for this card. It did not work out, so I'm going to save that plan for another card. I've also gone through my scrap cardstock piece to get all of the pieces that I need for these die cuts. So I've cut them all out, and I'm going to start ink blending a little bit around the edges and assembling all of the pieces and parts. I cut out this polka dot pattern paper for kind of the one of the layers of the umbrella, and I didn't love it. So at the end, I decided to go ahead and fix it. Sometimes it happens, right? We have this plan in play, and it doesn't really turn out how we thought it was going to turn out. And this card is an entire representation of not how I thought it was going to turn out. So I just went with it. I have Honeybee Stamps dies, Stampin' Up! Pattern paper, scrap cardstocks from anybody and everybody. I'm using Hero Arts, my favorite things, Altenew inks. I've got blending brushes. I mean, this is a conglomeration of everything you could possibly find in my craft room. Let's just put it that way. This is a use all the things you have because you have them and you bought them because you love them. So one of the things I'm doing to these dies is I'm putting some ink blending around the edges, and then the layers that have some embossed detail to it, I'm kind of adding some ink to those embossed details as well, just to kind of help them pull out or stand out a little bit better. Around the pattern paper, I used a gray Altenew ink to do the edging, just to kind of give it some shadow. It's not at all visible. It really is not at all visible. It just kind of gives it some shadow, and in real life, it looked really cool. Now, again, at the end of the card, I'm going to completely remove this pattern paper. So, it is what it is, right? Anyway, ink blending the edges. These little ink blending brushes are from, where did I get these? Tailored Expressions. These are the Tailored Expressions brushes. They came in a set of 6, and they're a little flat. I think they're about a 1/2 inch diameter, but they're flat. And it's a new version of ink blending brushes, right? I have the other kind. I just thought I would try these out. They happened to be on a pretty good deal on the day that I went to Tailored Expressions to purchase something else. I needed a couple more dollars to get free shipping, and well, I'm a sucker for paying more money than the shipping costs to get free shipping. It gets me every time. Anyway, now that I have all the ink blending done, I am going to go ahead and assemble the umbrella. So the large piece goes on the bottom, and then the handle goes on top of that large umbrella piece. And then I'm adding the second piece, that polka dot paper, and then that other yellow piece, the lighter yellow piece, goes on top of the polka dot paper, which I think is why I didn't like it. I should have done that centerpiece in the polka dot paper as well, and then it would have looked correct, even if the back piece was done in yellow, because a lot of times on an umbrella, especially if it's a good sturdy umbrella, the pattern will be on one side, it'll be solid on the inside, right? So anyways, I am working on this Waffle Flowers, is it Waffle Flower? Gosh, I can't remember who makes this little blending mat. Yeah, it's Waffle Flower. It's Waffle Flower. It's the ink blending mat. It's got the edges, but it's silicone, so my little die cut pieces don't slide all over my desk. I like that. So for the rain boots, I used a piece of aqua cardstock and an aqua pattern paper for the detail. I am adding some, I think this is also an Altenew ink. I think it could be a Tailored Express. I think it's Altenew because it's got the gray light. It's Altenew. See, we're just using all the things. I am going around the edges of the boots. And also at the bottom where that pattern paper is going to go, I'm adding a little bit of ink there so there's a little shadow behind that layer, just because I thought it would look good. And I like how it turned out. I think that the shadows were put in quite properly. Also with the boots, I'm going to take a Copic marker and add a little bit of a dark brown Copic marker to the sole of the boot once I get ready to put them together. And that also adds some, I actually use the W8, and that actually, just because of the aqua cardstock, it adds the right shadows to the right places on the sole of the boot. So anyway, once I get this all put together, I'm adding a little bit of ink blending around the pattern paper piece of the boot as well. One of these boots is slightly wider and slightly taller than the other boot, and that is so that you can kind of stand them next to each other, and the larger one goes in front and the smaller one goes in back, because that's how things would look when you looked at them in real life, right? We're going to go ahead and assemble the boots. I'm having, I feel like my life in the summertime is abnormal, right? And the school year is the normal because it's the larger part of the year. And I haven't had kids at home during the day, like my youngest kid's in 7th grade now, having a hard time adjusting to the school year, even though that is going back to norm. We had a fabulous summer. We went to the beach. My sister was here with her husband and kids. I got to see my adult children, even my daughter who lives out of state. And I'm feeling like getting back to the school year is kind of been a rough transition for me. I know that's not what you came to the video for, but I say that because sometimes I feel like when I sit down to do videos, I've completely forgotten how to edit and voice over the video. Clearly, I probably should have sped this up, right? Then you wouldn't have to listen to me talk about how my brain is just not quite wrapping around the change of my life right now. But anyway, this die set also has a little bird. This little bird has 3 layers. I think I'm missing a little die. And I think that die is probably his eye, and then the center of the violet flower. I don't know. It's not in the stamp package. It's not on the magnetic sheet. So I think I lost a little tiny die somewhere. But we're going to figure out how to make it work. So this bird is a dark layer, a light layer, and a medium layer. And that gives you this cute little bird. You could do it any color. I went with brown because this is the first time I played with this die set, and I wanted to figure it out. We are going to put, I figured it out by using the same colors that were in the layering guide. That's how I figured it out. Sorry, I totally missed that thought. See? My brain. Anyway, back to the ink blending on the flowers. All of the flowers have a base, and then they stack up. And so for the ink blending on the flowers, I'm just adding ink to the center and then pulling it up. Because on most of these flowers, they're meant to be kind of a front-facing floral. So that shadow is going to be kind of in the middle where the flower is not quite as open, right? So this little orange one is called an aranthus, I think is how you say that, at least according to the layering guide. So I'm going to go ahead and layer up this aranthus. Sorry, I'm trying really hard not to sneeze. And it has the green base layer, the orange base layer, the yellow base layer, and then another orange. And I use the same color of orange for both orange pieces, and then just put that yellow in between. The tulip, I'm a sucker for a tulip. I used 4 shades of pink cardstock just out of my scrap bin. And for the lighter 2 layers, I used a lighter pink, and the darker 2 layers, or darker 3 layers, I used a darker pink. And again, the shadows at the bottom, moving up the petals, just to kind of emphasize the embossing lines on each of the die cut pieces. I did not assemble the tulip right away. I just went right into ink blending on the violet and the crocus. And the violet is where I'm missing the little center. There's supposed to be 2 little dies that cut the center. And I don't know. There's a possibility that it's lost somewhere in my craft room. That's the possibility, right? It's not like Honeybee sent me the die set without the die in there, right? It's lost somewhere in my craft room. There is a possibility it hasn't been vacuumed up yet because, well, I don't vacuum in here very often. And last time I did, I was looking for a die that I dropped. And so I was very careful and I didn't find one. So it could be under one of the things on my desk that doesn't get moved very often or ever. And anyway, hopefully one of these days it will just miraculously show up and I'll remember which die set was missing one of the dies. Okay, I have the violet and the crocus and the tulip all put together, and now it's time to assemble the card. Oh, no, I lied. Now I've had the leaves, because you have to have leaves with all the flowers. And I'm just doing some very splotchy blending. This is mostly on top of the leaves to kind of pull out that embossed, the embossing that was created with the die cut. My brain, y'all. Okay, my card base. This is a light blue or a light aqua card base. It is in 4 1/4 by 8 1/2 or 11 1/2 inch piece of cardstock scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So 4 1/4 by 11. There we go. Dimensions are key. This panel, I am going to, I cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches because I had another plan in play that did not work out. Because normally I leave my top panel slightly smaller than my card base. The assembling, or I guess assembling is a good word for it, of the elements on my card, it was a little bit painful. It was painful for me to watch while I was doing it. It was painful for me to watch while I was editing the video. Between my fingernails sticking, like I couldn't pick things up with my fingernails today. I don't know. They're a little longer than normal. I need to trim them down. And the die cuts just kind of sliding all over the place. I could not. It was extra. It was extra. So I am attempting to assemble it on my desktop because my plan is to pick it up with a piece of cling wrap or press and seal. Not cling wrap, press and seal. Because I have this piece of press and seal sitting on top of my desk that I only used for one card. It should be plenty sticky still for another card, right? You would think that. However, what you're going to see is that clearly if you leave your press and seal sitting out on your desk, it is not sticky enough to pick up this kind of detail. Like each of these pieces have multiple layers, and it was sticky enough to stick down to my desktop, and it was sticky enough to stick to the layers, but it was not, maybe it was too sticky. I don't know. When I put the card panel back down and the umbrella back down, and then I laid this piece on top where I wanted it to go, I'm going to use a bone folder and stick that press and seal to the top of to my desk surface and make sure that that is nice and stuck down so that I can use that hinge method, right? If you ever watch Kelly Taylor or Dawn from W+9, that hinge method, that is something I learned from watching their videos. And I put glue. I put glue on the back of all the things, knowing I would have a layer of flowers that was not going to stick down with this first section of glue, right? I knew that. I put down all the glue. I lined up my pattern paper again. I had moved the pattern paper, so I just picked up the cling wrap and I'm centering it back down again. And when I went to go pick up the cling wrap, everything moved. The boots did not stick down. The flowers did not stick down. It was just a thing. It was just a thing. The great thing about crafting as like your downtime, your therapy, your alone minute is that if it messes up, it gives you more time to be in it. I'm just saying. I don't get mad at it. I just kind of shake my head and go, okay, now how do I fix this? And I fixed it, and it looks wonderful. The next thing I'm going to do is add all the leaves, and it took me a minute to figure out which section of the leaf should go down into that flower bouquet. I will admit, floral arranging is not my strong suit. Every Saturday, I go to the store and purchase myself a bouquet of flowers for my kitchen table. It's my effort to make the kitchen table not look like the dumping ground for my family, which sometimes works, sometimes does not. And I get the bouquet. It's really nicely done from the grocery store. I come home, I trim off the edges, and I dump them in my vase. And it is what it is. All of the stems are probably now the same size, the same length, and so it may not look great. Flower arranging is not my thing. So if you look at this little bouquet of flowers coming out of these rain boots and go, those leaves are wonky, you would be right. The leaves are wonky. The flowers are wonky. The whole thing is a little bit wonky and backwards. However, I think that the card is bright and sunshiny. Even with the rain boots and the umbrella and the rainbows on the background paper, I think that the color choices, made this card just nice and cheery. Now, the one thing about this bird that I don't understand is, first of all, I think I put the eye in the wrong place, but it's really hard to tell on the dies. Like if I look at the layering guide, the eye is in the wrong place. And that could be because since I couldn't find couldn't figure out if I had lost the die to make the eye, I just used a little sticker gem from Honeybee. And then I also used a yellow one on those purple flowers, the violets that I couldn't find the die cut for. So when I look at the card, the bird eye looks kind of weird. I don't know. I might move it, even though it doesn't line up with, even though if I move it, it's not going to be where the layering guide is. I might move it anyway because I think it looks a little weird. Looks like a cheek. This is when I decided I didn't like the polka dot part of the umbrella. So I cut another piece of the umbrella out of that yellow cardstock. I pulled out my ink blending brush and that yellow ink and added some more ink to the edges and the embossed detail. And then I went to the painstaking measure of removing the layers. I assembled them with liquid glue. That is not as easy as if it were double-sided adhesive, right? And you can see that some of that polka dot paper is still there. I decided I didn't care because this was going to go on top of it, so who's going to see it? And the only people who will ever know are the people who watch this video. And you're not going to tell on me, so it's all good. It's a secret between us. We'll just keep it here. What happens on YouTube stays on YouTube, right? So here we go. We're going to zoom in and check out that card and see it is quite cheerful. The flower colors are cheerful. The bird eye is weird. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a couple other videos here that I think you will like. I've also added that subscribe button. I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me your favorite flower. Have a really fabulous day.